A child's breakfast pastry was once classified as a weapon. Elsewhere, the very concept of having a best friend became a punishable offense. These aren't plot points from some dark, satirical movie. They are real policies from actual schools. For the next 30 minutes, we are venturing into an alternate reality of education, a place where common sense is consistently failed and absurdity gets a perfect grade. This is a monument to the most ridiculous school rules ever enforced. 1. What if I told you the very concept of friendship was deemed too dangerous for school? In a truly stunning act of social engineering, schools in the United Kingdom and parts of the US have banned students from having a single best friend. Their justification is a masterclass in bureaucratic overthinking. They claim it prevents the pain of exclusion. So, to ensure no one feels left out, no one gets to feel truly included. It's a policy that treats deep human connection like a contagious disease, encouraging a sterile, rotating cast of acquaintances. It's not about fostering friendship. It's about learning to network before you've even lost your baby teeth. 2. A teacher's red pen, the classic symbol of correction, has been declared a psychological weapon. Across Australia and the UK, that sharp crimson ink is forbidden. The argument? Red is apparently too aggressive and confrontational, a color that bombards a student's delicate psyche with negative vibes. The solution is to grade with the gentle, therapeutic hues of purple, blue, or even green. It's the emotional equivalent of telling a student their essay is a dumpster fire, but using a soothing, lavender-scented crayon to do it. The F- feels the same, but now it's just vibing. 3. What kind of world bans hugging? Apparently, our world. Schools in states like Florida and Oregon have put a stop to this most basic form of human affection. Citing concerns over inappropriate touching and the sanctity of personal space, administrators have made a friendly embrace a punishable offense. It's a policy that treats a simple hug between friends with the same suspicion as handling enriched uranium. Instead of teaching kids about consent and boundaries, they've just outlawed warmth itself, turning hallways into sterile, emotion-free transit zones. 4. Imagine being the person whose job it is to hunt down and kill dinosaurs with a black marker. In New York, one school district banned the word dinosaur from all teaching materials because its existence implies evolution and an Earth older than a few thousand years. They also axed Halloween for its pagan roots and dancing for being too fun. Administrators would physically go through state exams, redacting the prehistoric beasts wherever they appeared. This isn't just erasing a word. It's rewriting science like it's fan fiction, leaving kids to guess what those giant mystery lizards even were. 5. To combat the scourge of unauthorized bathroom trips, a Chicago middle school perfected the art of tyrannical efficiency: mandatory synchronized bathroom breaks. The entire class goes together 3 times a day. Miss the launch window, and you're holding it until the next scheduled departure, 4 hours later. This isn't education, it's a logistics operation for managing human plumbing on an industrial scale. It's the kind of dystopian efficiency that would make a factory foreman weep with joy, all while a kid in the back row is doing bladder calculus to survive until lunch. 6. Recess, that sacred childhood ritual of joyful chaos, has been officially neutered. At an elementary school in Massachusetts, administrators banned running on the playground. They also outlawed any game involving touching, which of course means tag is a relic of a more barbaric past. The official reason was, as always, safety. They were terrified of scraped knees and the lawsuits they might spawn. So, instead of a playground echoing with laughter, you get a silent queue of kids inching forward like they're boarding a plane. 7. Dodgeball is not a game. According to several school districts from Texas to New Hampshire, it is a ritual of bullying, oppression, and aggression. The National Association for Sport and Physical Education itself labeled the game an inappropriate activity, officially condemning it as a tool for targeting weaker students. They treat a red rubber ball with the seriousness of a WMD. The one gym class activity that taught generations about agility, reflexes, and the primal satisfaction of a well-aimed shot is now viewed as a gateway to villainy. The Geneva Convention is silent on the issue, but school administrators are not. 8. How do you solve the problem of boys being distracted by girls? A middle school in Pennsylvania found the answer: punish the girls. They enacted a ban on yoga pants and leggings, claiming the sight of them was simply too much for male students and teachers to handle, derailing the entire educational process. So rather than addressing the core issue, teaching boys to act with respect and self-control, the administration decided it was easier to legislate female fashion. It's like blaming the road for speeding cars. It's a masterstroke of logic that sidesteps responsibility so skillfully it deserves its own Olympic medal. 9. A 7-year-old's breakfast pastry was once declared a weapon. This isn't a joke. A boy in Maryland was suspended for 2 days after he chewed his Pop-Tart into a shape that vaguely resembled a gun. He didn't wave it around, didn't make sound effects. He just sculpted with his teeth. But in the hyper-vigilant world of zero-tolerance policies, the L-shaped snack food was deemed a credible threat. The entire disciplinary apparatus of a public school was mobilized to neutralize a fruit-filled pastry. This is what happens when rules replace reason entirely. 10. That fundamental human instinct, raising your hand to show you know the answer, has been outlawed. In an effort to promote equality of participation, some schools in the UK have banned it. The logic is that the same keen students always volunteer, leaving shy kids in the dust. Their solution? A system of random selection, often using popsicle sticks with names, a system lovingly nicknamed the Sticks of Terror. It turns the classroom into a low-grade game of Russian roulette with trivia. It's a noble attempt at inclusivity that has the unfortunate side effect of punishing kids for being prepared and enthusiastic. 11. Ever wondered what school would be like without backpacks? Some administrators have, and their answer is chaos. In a bizarre effort to eliminate tripping hazards and contraband hiding spots, schools have banned students from carrying backpacks during the day. The result? Students are forced to lug armfuls of textbooks, binders, and laptops from class to class, looking like extras from a movie set in the 1940s. It's a policy that treats a simple piece of canvas like a Trojan horse, forcing students to perform a clumsy juggling act all day long, all in the name of a safety problem that backpacks never really caused. 12. How do you ensure students are exactly where they're supposed to be? Simple. You treat them like FedEx packages. A school district in Texas made headlines by requiring students to wear ID cards equipped with GPS tracking chips. Every student's location on campus was monitored in real time. The administration sold it as a tool to streamline attendance and secure funding. But let's call it what it is: a high-tech leash. It's the ultimate helicopter parenting, outsourced to the school district and powered by radio frequency identification. Big Brother isn't just watching, he's triangulating your position by the water fountain. 13. Welcome to the loneliest meal of the day, the mandatory silent lunch. As a form of collective punishment or simply to maintain a crypt-like level of order, schools across the country have instituted periods where students must eat in complete silence. No talking, no laughing. Just the grim symphony of chewing and silverware scraping against plastic trays. The one slice of the day meant for social interaction and decompression is transformed into a daily rehearsal for solitary confinement. It's an idea so joyless, you have to assume it was invented by someone who truly hates the sound of children's laughter. 14. Planning a birthday party for your 8-year-old? First, you'll need to consult your school's legal department. Many elementary schools have an all-or-nothing rule for invitations. You either invite every single kid in the class, or you hand out your invitations off school grounds, in secret. This well-intentioned policy to prevent hurt feelings effectively turns a simple birthday party into a logistical and financial operation on par with a state dinner. It's a rule that forces parents to either go broke renting out a convention center for 30 kids or teach their child the art of covert party planning. 15. The pure, unadulterated joy of a snowball fight has been officially canceled. In numerous school districts across America's snowbelt, this cherished winter rite of passage is now a suspendable offense. Why? The risk of injury, of course. A stray snowball could hit someone in the eye. It's the same zero-tolerance logic that banned tag, applied to frozen water. They've successfully identified the fun in a snow day and systematically eradicated it, leaving children to stand around a perfect blanket of white powder, instructed only to admire its placid, non-violent beauty from a safe, approved distance. 16. Your hair, according to some school boards, is a distraction to the entire learning environment, but only if it's an interesting color. Dress codes across the nation explicitly ban unnatural hair colors: the blues, the pinks, the greens. The implication is that a student's brain power is somehow diminished by the presence of magenta highlights. It's a rule that insists classrooms stay grayscale, even though the world outside is in full Technicolor. 17. In the great pantheon of demonized clothing, few items have been targeted with the same fervor as the humble hoodie. A high school in Connecticut banned them outright, not for being sloppy, but for being a security threat. The logic was that the hood could be used to hide a student's identity from security cameras. This effectively treats every teenager seeking warmth and comfort as a potential criminal plotting a heist. It's security theater at its finest, a policy that does little to improve safety, but does a fantastic job of making everyone slightly more cold and annoyed. 18. What is the most pointless random activity you could possibly ban? A school in England found the answer: cartwheels. They banned cartwheels and handstands anywhere on school property. Not in the halls, not in the cafeteria, everywhere. There was no specific incident, no wave of cartwheel-related injuries. Just a sudden top-down prohibition on spontaneous gymnastic joy. It's a rule so bafflingly specific, you have to wonder if it was written by a bitter adult who once failed spectacularly at gymnastics and has been holding a grudge against joyful acrobatics ever since. 19. When does a fashion choice become a gang symbol? Apparently, when an administrator completely loses touch with reality. A school in California famously banned skinny jeans, not because they were immodest, but because they believed the pants could be used as a signal of gang affiliation. This demonstrates a generational gap so vast it has its own zip code. They saw a global fashion trend worn by everyone from rock stars to accountants, and somehow interpreted it as a secret code for organized crime. It's less of a rule and more of a cultural fossil preserved in a student handbook. 20. Being late to pick up your kid from school used to be a source of guilt. Now, it's also a source of revenue. Schools desperate for funding and tired of waiting have started fining parents by the minute for late pickups. Stuck in traffic? That'll be $5. A meeting ran long? $10, please. They've successfully weaponized the anxiety of every working parent. It's a policy that transforms the school entrance into a high-priced parking meter, and your child is the vehicle. It's an ingenious, if slightly evil, business model. 21. What happens when a grandmother's love is classified as a biohazard? You get a modern school bake sale. Countless elementary schools have enacted a complete ban on homemade treats. If you want to bring cupcakes for your kid's birthday, they must be store-bought and hermetically sealed. The reasoning is allergy prevention, but the result is a world where a loving, freshly baked brownie is treated like a suspicious package, while a mass-produced, factory-sealed puck of preservatives and chemicals gets a free pass. Have you run into this? The moment when your kindness is treated like a public health crisis? 22. A school in the UK decided to wage a war on words. They issued an official list of banned slang terms including like, in it, basically, and even the filler sound Their goal was to promote more eloquent and businesslike communication. This is an effort as noble as it is doomed. Trying to stop teenagers from using slang is like trying to build a dam with a fishing net. It's an administrator's dream of creating an army of tiny, eloquent public speakers. But the reality is just a bunch of kids who get very, very good at talking without ever getting caught. 23. Remember your first crush? Now imagine your school's administration acting as a full-time state-funded chaperone. Many schools enforce strict, no public displays of affection policies, and they take the public and affection parts very seriously. This isn't just about preventing makeout sessions by the lockers. We're talking about a ban on holding hands, an arm around a shoulder, a fleeting, innocent hug. Hall monitors are transformed into a romance police force, ready to shut down any unauthorized expressions of human connection. It's an attempt to maintain a professional learning environment that results in an emotionally sterile one. 24. Can you imagine being told exactly how to walk? In some schools, you don't have to imagine it. To maximize order and efficiency, administrators have implemented military-style rules for hallway conduct. Students must walk in single-file lines. They must stay on one side of a painted line on the floor. Some even have mandated walking speeds. It transforms the 5 minutes between classes from a brief social respite into a joyless, silent procession. It's not a school hallway. It's a human conveyor belt designed to move units from one processing station to the next. 25. The humble doodle, that little drawing in the margins of your notebook, has been branded an enemy of education. Some teachers and schools have an official ban on doodling, seeing it as irrefutable proof that a student isn't paying attention. But here's the beautiful irony. Countless studies have shown that, for many people, doodling improves focus and helps with memory retention. So, in their quest for the appearance of perfect attention, these schools banned a scientifically proven learning tool, just to keep the margins pristine. 26. The UGG boot. Soft, warm, comfortable, and a major security risk? That was the conclusion of a school in Pennsylvania that banned the popular boots. Their reasoning was a masterpiece of paranoia. They claimed students could use the famously roomy boots to smuggle in contraband, specifically cell phones. Overnight, a piece of cozy footwear was reclassified as a tool for espionage. Suddenly, every student just trying to keep their feet warm was viewed as a potential spy, their boots a potential dead-drop location for illicit goods. It's a perfect example of a solution in search of a problem. 27. A middle school in Oregon, faced with students using aerosol deodorant sprays to set off fire alarms, made a bold decision. They banned them. Now, on the surface, this sounds reasonable, right? Until you remember what a middle school full of kids who have just had gym class smells like. In their effort to prevent a minor annoyance, they unleashed a far greater and more potent problem. It's a classic case of the cure being infinitely worse than the disease. You have to ask, which would you rather deal with? A brief fire alarm or a constant, inescapable olfactory disaster zone? 28. Let's get back to the playground, a place some schools are trying to render completely inert. We've seen them ban running and tag, but one school in Toronto took it to the logical extreme. They banned all balls. Footballs, soccer balls, basketballs, even simple bouncy balls, all of them. Gone. Their justification was a vague reference to safety, presuming that any spherical object is a lawsuit waiting to happen. It's as if they looked at a playground, identified the absolute primary object of fun and play, and eliminated it with surgical precision. 29. Think about the most basic gestures you use every day. Chances are you just thought of pointing. Well, a primary school in the UK banned it. Students were forbidden from pointing because it was deemed too aggressive and rude. So what do you do instead? Wave vaguely? Mime charades? Administrators essentially turned a child's finger into contraband, and everyone's just supposed to nod along. 30. Many English teachers with the best of intentions create lists of forbidden words for student essays. Common targets include things, stuff, got, and especially the first-person pronoun, I. The goal is to force students to use more descriptive academic language. But when rigidly enforced, it turns writing into a game of linguistic twister. Students become so terrified of using a banned word that their prose becomes a stilted, soulless mess. They end up writing sentences like, "It is the belief of this author," instead of just "I think," sounding less like a scholar and more like a robot attempting to pass a Turing test. 31. Ever seen a condiment treated like a controlled substance? Welcome to the school cafeteria, where some districts have implemented a one-pump-per-student rule for ketchup. You get one shot. That's it. Need more for your fries? Too bad. This isn't about nutrition or saving money. It's about power. It's an exercise in absolute authority over the smallest possible thing, a policy that treats ketchup not as a food, but as a carefully dispensed, government-issued mood enhancer. 32. Valentine's Day, that innocent celebration of friendship and candy, has been officially canceled in many schools. Following the same twisted logic as the "no best friends" rule, administrators banned the exchange of cards to prevent the trauma of unequal affection. Instead of teaching resilience, they've opted to preemptively eliminate any situation where a child might feel even a flicker of disappointment. They didn't just ban paper hearts. They banned the entire concept of having a favorite person. 33. In the surreal world of zero-tolerance policies, your school supplies are a potential arsenal. A student in South Carolina was suspended after her teacher used a pencil sharpener on her pencil. The resulting point was deemed too sharp and was classified as a piercing weapon. Let me repeat that. The teacher sharpened the pencil and the student got suspended for it. Your standard issue number 2 pencil now has the legal status of a concealed dagger. God help you if you have a protractor. 34. You know that little thrill of getting a sticker from a teacher? Well, some schools have banned them. Not because they're distracting, but because they created an unauthorized economy. Students were trading them, creating a black market for shiny dinosaurs and holographic stars. Rather than see this as a harmless lesson in commerce, administrators cracked down. That's right. A glittery unicorn sticker is now treated like unregulated cryptocurrency. 35. What happens when a school's mascot becomes controversial? You get a corporate rebranding from hell. A high school in West Virginia, formerly the Indians, was forced to change their name. After much deliberation, they settled on their new mascot, the Dots, as in the punctuation mark. They went from being a tribe of warriors to being a piece of grammar. Their arch-rivals must be absolutely terrified. 36. A school district in Illinois took a stand against color. Not hair color, not skin color. The color of your markers. Students were only allowed to use a specific brand and pack of classic colored markers. No neons, no pastels, no glitter. The justification was to prevent classroom jealousy and visual chaos. It's art education designed to prepare kids for a future in HR paperwork, not a creative life. 37. For generations, young children have sat on the floor crisscross applesauce. It's the default human position for listening to a story. Well, it's now a medical hazard. Some schools have banned the practice, citing expert claims that it can cut off circulation and damage developing hips. Have you ever felt so old? A sitting position that has existed since the dawn of time is now considered too extreme for modern children. 38. We've covered birthday treats and invitations, but one school went further. They banned the celebration of birthdays. Period. No singing, no acknowledgements, nothing. The reason? It makes the kids whose birthdays fall on weekends or over the summer feel left out. In this utopia of forced equality, personal joy is now a competitive event from which you can be disqualified. 39. The simple woven friendship bracelet, a symbol of camaraderie since the dawn of summer camp, is now a gang symbol. That's the official line from several schools that have banned them. Administrators, in a desperate attempt to appear tough on crime, have decided that those colorful threads are just one step away from territorial disputes and organized crime. Your 10-year-old daughter doesn't just have a friend, she's in a crew. 40. This one feels like it's from another century, but it's not. There are still reports of ultra-strict schools actively discouraging or even punishing left-handed students. They see it as a bad habit to be corrected, sometimes forcing children to use their right hand to write. It's a policy that treats a natural, neurological trait like a character flaw, attempting to rewire a child's brain for the sake of conformity. It's not just a rule, it's medieval. 41. Everyone knows the number one rule of the library is to be quiet. But one school district decided that quiet wasn't quiet enough. They instituted a policy of complete silence. No whispering, at all. If you needed to ask the librarian a question, you had to write it down on a slip of paper and hand it to them. They turned a community resource for learning into a high-security vault for books, patrolled by silent monks. 42. Nothing says fun like making it mandatory. Many schools have school spirit days where participation is required. Fail to wear mismatched socks on Wacky Sock Day, and you could earn yourself a detention. That's not boosting morale. That's just dressing up resentment in bright colors and calling it a celebration. 43. We all know about book bans, but the reasoning can reach spectacular levels of absurdity. When schools banned the Harry Potter series, it wasn't because of the writing. It was because they claimed the books were a literal gateway to witchcraft and the occult. They weren't afraid of a story. They were afraid that second graders across the nation were about to start a coven in the gymnasium. They feared a work of fiction more than they feared ignorance. 44. A common rule in colder climates is that students cannot wear their outdoor coats in the classroom. The official reasons are about space and preventing kids from hiding things. The unofficial result is that students freeze in the hallways between classes only to enter a warm classroom where they aren't allowed to get comfortable. It's a policy that seems to be based on the assumption that all teenagers have a personal, internal furnace. 45. Preparing students for the modern world by banning its language. Some schools have instituted policies against using any acronyms in written work. No LOL, no BTW, no ASAP. This isn't just about formal essays, it's about any communication. It's an attempt to preserve a form of English that is rapidly becoming a historical artifact, diligently preparing kids for a professional world that ceased to exist in 1995. 46. In a spectacular display of missing the point, some schools have banned fundraising activities like selling chocolate bars. The reason? To combat childhood obesity. So, instead of teaching moderation, they just ban the source of revenue that pays for the soccer team's new uniforms. Their solution to a health crisis is to make sure the kids can't afford to be physically active. The logic here doesn't just run in a circle, it's a perfect Mobius strip of nonsense. 47. You've heard of school uniforms, but have you heard of school-mandated hairstyles? Multiple schools, particularly in the UK and South Africa, have incredibly specific rules about how students can wear their hair. We're talking about regulations on the maximum length of a boy's hair, the prohibition of elaborate braids or dreadlocks, and even the required style of a ponytail. It's not a dress code, it's a human grooming manual written by a committee with way too much time on its hands. 48. We've saved one of the most baffling for near the end. A school in Japan famously banned ponytails. Why? Because school officials claimed that the sight of a girl's nape, the back of her neck, could sexually excite male students. Let that sink in. They didn't address the boy's behavior. They addressed the girl's anatomy. It's a rule that sexualizes a part of the human body most people don't even think about, turning every female student into an accidental femme fatale. 49. Imagine your final exam is approaching. You're stressed, you're studying, and your school decides the best way to help is to ban clapping. That's what happened at a college in the UK, to create a more inclusive and less anxiety-inducing environment, they replaced audible clapping with silent jazz hands. It's not applause. It's like 1,000 tiny mimes cheering you on in purgatory. 50. And for our grand finale, we present a rule that is so perfectly stupid, it feels like a work of art. An elementary school in Washington state banned the color green. Not for gang reasons, not for psychological reasons. They banned it for one day, St. Patrick's Day. The principal decided that the tradition of pinching students who weren't wearing green was a form of bullying. So, to stop the pinching, she didn't just ban the pinching, she banned the color that caused it. On a day famous for being green. It's a level of problem-solving so galaxy-brained, so counterintuitive, it deserves to be hung in a museum. So here's the real question. Are these rules born of misguided care? Or just a desperate obsession with control? Drop your verdict in the comments. And if you think common sense deserves a comeback, subscribe and stick with us, because we're just getting started. All right, we have seen 49 flavors of institutional madness, and there's just one left to go. But before we get to our final number, it's time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the single most unbelievably ridiculous rule on this list has to go to the Japanese school that banned ponytails. Why? Because most bad rules are born from incompetence or fear. This one is a work of art. It's a rule that looked at the entire spectrum of human anatomy and social interaction, and decided the greatest threat to education was the back of a girl's neck. That's not just a bad policy, it's a literary achievement in insanity. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments which rule you think wins the gold medal for absurdity. And now, our final entry.